Two strangers. One offers to help while the other wakes up days later just to discover something unspeakable may have happened. And by the time the truth was uncovered, the investigators would realize that this was not an isolated attack. It was one of the largest sexual assault cases in modern history. Hello, you guys, and welcome to the G.M.C channel. I am Esther Vincent, also known as Leah Mia on social media. In this channel, I talk about the ghost, the mystery, the crime. So if this is up your alley, do give me a subscribe. If you stay tuned till the end, give me a like, maybe a comment in the video. That will really encourage me. So without further ado, let's get into today's story. All right, when people think about serial offenders, they often imagine someone that looks dangerous, unpredictable, someone who stands out, someone who looks suspicious, right? But I think nowadays in this modern society where we've got internet, social media, TV, documentaries, we are coming to learn that criminals throughout the history, they never looked dangerous. They never stood out. They looked completely normal like you and me. They are educated, well spoken, well dressed, friendly, the kind of person that you might trust without a second thought. And that's exactly what made this case of Reynhard Sinaga so terrifying. To the outside world, he looked like a very ambitious international student all the way from Indonesia, now pursuing his higher education in the United Kingdom. He lived in Manchester and he studied hard. He appeared to be building a very strong, bright future for himself. But behind the closed doors of his apartment, the prosecutors would say that he was living a double life and a terrifying one. For years, he targeted young men who were intoxicated, alone, vulnerable after their nights out. He offered them what seemed like kindness, a place to rest, a phone charger, a safe place to recover. Or so they thought. But many of them were drugged and sexually assaulted while being unconscious. And guess what? Most of them have got no recollection, no memory whatsoever of what had happened to them. What makes this case even more disturbing is that all this assault that was happening, they were being recorded, not on papers, but on his phone. Yeah, he recorded, videotaped all of this and kept it in his phone, cataloged them, preserved them as a trophy. When police eventually uncovered the evidence, they were confronted with a scale of offending that shocked even seasoned investigators. By the end of the trials, Reynhard Sinaga had been convicted of 159 offenses, including 136 counts of rape against 48 identified men. Authorities believe that the true number of victims may be far higher than this. They estimated that he may have assaulted more than 100 men, possibly even more than that. Isn't this crazy? A single guy assaulting more than 100 men. This is the story about how one man hid in plain sight, how dozens of his victims were only identified because of the evidence that he kept, and how this case forced many people to confront an uncomfortable truth that sexual assault can happen to anyone, be it male or female. Reynhard Sinaga, the perp for today. His full name is Reynhard Tambus Maruli Tua Sinaga, a long name, and he was born in Indonesia in 1983. He came from a very wealthy and well-connected family. Reports indicate that his father is involved in business and his family is very well doing. They are financially very comfortable. Then in 2007, Reynhard Sinaga decides to move to the UK to pursue his higher education. He first studied sociology at the University of Manchester, later earning additional postgraduate qualifications. He eventually pursued a PhD at Leeds University, though he did not complete it before his arrest. By all outward appearance, he seemed intelligent and ambitious. Even his friends and acquaintances described him as polite and sociable. He was known within the Manchester's nightlife scene because he often spends his evening in the city center. Nothing about his public image suggested the scale of what prosecutors described later in court. Reynard's apartment was located very close to Manchester's busiest nightlife district, so during the weekend, a lot of people, like thousands of people, come there, filling in the pubs, the bars, the clubs. And in the early hours of the morning, it was common to see very intoxicated individuals trying to find their way back home. And this was the exact environment Reynard exploited for his own selfish, disgusting acts. According to the prosecutors, he would deliberately search for men who were highly intoxicated, alone, disoriented, waiting for a friend or transportation, or just too impaired to protect themselves. He would approach them as a seemingly concerned stranger. Sometimes he would offer them a place to rest. Sometimes he would offer them something to drink. And sometimes he would even give them a chance to charge their dead phone. To these people, these intoxicated men, he appeared like a helpful person, like an angel. But no, the investigators later would conclude that this apparent kindness was a carefully crafted trap. What happens inside of the apartment? Well, once inside, many of his victims they go unconscious because Reynard uses substance like GHB, commonly known as party drug, to immobilize these men. While they are unable to consent or even comprehend what is happening over there, he would sexually assault them. While they are unable to consent or even comprehend what is going on over there, Reynard, would rape them. There are victims who had been raped multiple times in a single night. He would drug them so hard, I guess, because he could rape them multiple times. I, and throughout these attacks, he would use his phone to record videos and photographs. These were not just simple short recordings, no, the recordings were extensive. Investigators later found hundreds of hours of material, and in many of these videos, it could be seen that the victims were completely motionless. Some of them were slightly or partially conscious, but they were still so confused and disoriented that they could not fight back or resist. Several victims later said that they have got no memory of entering into Reynard's apartment at all, while others say that they woke up unusually ill, extremely disoriented, and physically sore or bruised in certain parts of their body. At that time, they all thought that they had simply drunk too much. They had no idea that someone had physically, sexually assaulted them. Authorities believed Reynard carried out these crimes over several years. The offenses for which he was convicted primarily occurred between January of 2015 all the way to January of 2017. Night after night, he repeated the same pattern. Find for a vulnerable man, gain his trust, bring him back to his apartment, drug him, assault him, record his assaults on his phone, let him go, and then go out back again to find for his next victim. The scale of this crime is what makes this case so difficult to comprehend. This wasn't just a one time crime. He did this over and over again to many, many victims. Like, he must be so sick in his head, so deliberate, so desperate, so pathetic. Now, coming to June of 2017, Reynard attempted to sexually assault another young man, but this time things did not go according to his plan. The victim regained consciousness in the midst of his attack. Disoriented and frightened, he realized that something was terribly wrong over there. A struggle followed, but the victim managed to fight back and leave Reynard's apartment. He immediately went to the police station, filed a police report, and gave the police Reynhard Sinaga's apartment address. That decision changed everything. Without that victim waking up, fighting back, reporting it, Who knows how long more this abuse would have been happening. Thankfully, the police took the victim seriously. They got a search warrant and entered into Reynard's apartment. What they found would reveal one of the most extensive collections of evidence in any sexual assault investigation in British history. Police would seize phones, computers, hard drives, and other devices. Inside of them were hundreds of videos and thousands of images. Each file documented attacks on unconscious or severely weak men. Even for investigators, the evidence was overwhelming. But it also presented a heartbreaking challenge. Many of the victims did not know they had been assaulted. Police had to painstakingly review the footage, identify individuals, and then contact them. Can you imagine receiving a call from a detective mentioning that you have appeared in a video of an event that you don't even remember, a video proving that you have been sexually assaulted while you were unconscious? For many of these victims, these survivors, that would have been a life changing moment, don't you think? The investigation became one of the most largest and most complex sexual assault inquiries ever undertaken by the Manchester police. Officers worked for years to identify the men in those videos. Some of them were recognized through social media, others through clothing, text messages, or just fragments of memory. In several cases, the victims initially struggled to believe what they were being told because they had no recollection whatsoever of what had happened to them, and yet the evidence was undeniable video evidence. The psychological impact was profound. Victims had to process not only the assault itself, but the realization that their own memory is failing them. Because of the enormous number of charges against him, the case was divided into multiple different trials and held between 2018 all the way to 2020 at the Manchester Crown Court. The evidence presented at the court was largely his own recording, like the very material he had kept as trophies became the foundation of the case against him. Like, take that, you pervert. Jurors were shown selected footage demonstrating the condition of the victims. Again and again, the pattern was the same. Men were unconscious or incapacitated, unable to consent, unable to defend themselves. Reynard denied all the allegations against him and claimed that all the encounters were consensual. Can you believe that? No, but the juries did not buy that as well. Thank God, one by one, guilty verdicts were returned. Finally, in January of 2020, the public learned the full scale of this case after reporting restrictions were lifted, like, 2020, COVID and all. So once the reporting restrictions were lifted, public came to know about this case and the scale of it. There was a panic. I know that for sure. In UK, in Indonesia, I know, me being the neighbor country to Indonesia, yeah, it was so shocking. And Reynhard Sinaga, he got life imprisonment. The Court of Appeal later increased the minimum term to 40 years before he can even be considered for release. Good for him. Reynhard Sinaga was convicted of 136 counts of rape, multiple counts of sexual assault by penetration, multiple counts of assault by penetration, and additional sexual offenses. Yeah. In total, 159 offenses involving 48 identified victims. British authorities describe him as the most prolific rapist ever prosecuted in UK legal history. This case received international attention, with many people struggling to comprehend just how many victims were involved in this entire thing. Like how this one young guy was able to assault so many different people for so long. The entire scale of it is just so difficult to comprehend. Even while I was sitting down scripting this whole thing up, I was just in disbelief. I was just shocked. We also have to accept and believe that men can be victims of sexual assault as well. But because of stigma and shame, many of them never come forward. Many of them never come out to report it. If that one male victim had not fought back and reported the incident immediately to the police, Reynhard Sinaga may have continued to offend many others for many years. His courage helped uncover the truth and brought answers to many victims who never knew that they had been assaulted. And perhaps that's the most important takeaway from this case. Sexual assault can happen to anyone, and every victim deserves to be believed, treated with dignity, and remembered because every victim matters no matter who they are. And today, I will leave you guys with that. If you guys that stick around till this very moment, thank you so much. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, maybe a comment that will really encourage me. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. If you have time to spare, click on my other videos that will be popping up in a bit. And I would see you guys in my next video. Until then, stay safe out there, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye.